What's up, you radical human? Welcome back to the show. Today in the studio, I sat across from Alexandria Roemer. She has gone through the ringer with breast implant illness. So she got breast implants, got tragically sick, crippling anxiety, intense brain fog out of nowhere, and then reconciled that she had to get them removed. So we talk about what that whole process is like, the inception of that idea, the unrealistic beauty standards that led to the decision, and then the healing process afterwards, the physical, emotional, and spiritual, what it's really like to go through this operation, get them removed. We talk about what people might be experiencing that is hidden breast implant illness that they are unaware of, and some of the unrealistic beauty standards perpetuated through social media, the societal pressures, aging gracefully, holistic health, and finding confidence from within. So let's get into the show with Alexandria. Alexandria, welcome to the studio. You had a post go viral recently, which is an interesting experience. You said, I paid $6,000 to get my implants in, $14,000 to get them removed, but the biggest cost of all was not being warned about any potential downsides. Yeah. Wild. Tell me the story.
Yeah, so I got implants in 2014, and at that point in time, nobody was talking about breast implant illness. Like, it was just, honestly, the decision to get implants at that point in time was just kind of like, I think I really want these.
Yeah.
Went to a surgeon, felt really good, felt really safe in it, wasn't told really any warnings or anything. I was young, like there wasn't a whole lot of thought that went into it, honestly. Like, I would have loved to say that I did a ton of research, but even if I had done a lot of research at the time,
hard to find.
I don't think that there was much out there at that point in time about implants making anybody sick. I hadn't heard about breast implant illness until around 2018. And I started seeing a couple fitness influencers, and they were posting about it, and that was my background too. And that was just so common. Like, that was the scene. The early fitness influencer days of like 2016 was just, you're competing. It's very normal to have implants. You look at any girl in the bikini bodybuilding genre, most of them have implants. It's just really normalized. So yeah, and then I went and made the decision to take them out in 2023.
So you had them for, that's what, like 7-ish years?
Nine years, yeah.
That's a long time.
It is a long time.
And what was the catalyst? You started to feel the wheels fall off, something strange
I
happening?
did, yeah. Around 2021, my health just started tanking. And I've always lived a pretty healthy lifestyle, and just all these things started happening that I couldn't explain. I was gaining weight. I was having horrible anxiety, depression, like anxiety so bad to the point where it was like scary to leave my house.
Wow.
And I was like, what is going on?
And you never, never experienced that, right?
I'd never experienced anything like that before. Gut issues, hormonal imbalance, lost period, just you name it. Like, everything just felt like it was falling apart. And yeah, and then I started just going down the rabbit hole.
Right.
I had a few friends be like, do you think it's your implants? And I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Like, now it makes perfect sense.
Right.
Oh, this foreign entity that I installed in my body for 9 years just sitting there, like, why wouldn't I think that can make me sick? But that's just the society that we live in. I think that we've all been kind of brainwashed that they're okay.
For sure, yeah.
We don't even question it.
With so much, right? And you just don't know what you don't know.
Right.
I was reading a post last night about some health wellness influencer. And the caption caught my attention for obvious reasons, because it said, I wish I didn't have any tattoos. And she went on to explain how look at me. I got a lot of tattoos, right? I didn't know at the time that tattoos can potentially come with heavy metals that can circulate and get stuck in your lymph and all of that stuff. And now I know that. And it's kind of like, well, okay, there's not much I can do about that.
You could have them removed. Do a full like Pete Davidson thing where you just have everything removed.
But it's a similar kind of case. Like, I just never thought about it.
Right.
And then I arrive here and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And now it's pretty obvious that it's probably not a good thing to have a bunch of foreign ink that potentially has heavy metals in your body. But sometimes we got to learn the hard way. And then I guess what we do with that is what really matters. Hopefully healing, getting back to health.
Yes.
And then in your case, taking it one step further and saying like, hey, I'm not going to stay quiet about this. I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to feel shame. I'm going to say like, you might be experiencing these things too. Or trying to start the conversation for women that aren't giving it much thought and just want the boob job. That like, maybe just think about this before you do it. So
Yeah, I mean, because again, I was so young. I didn't think to be like, what are these things made out of? Surgeon says they're safe. They're,
Right,
you
that's
know,
it.
everything's good. I'm like, okay, cool. I trust. But now, I mean, if I were to do it all over again, I would be doing all my research. You look at what's in breast implants and they're full of heavy metals.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The shell is made of silicone, but the inside is made of a ton of different metals.
Right.
Chemicals, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you think about what happens when they're sitting in the body for a decade or longer. Do you think that none of that is leaching?
Right.
You think that that's completely going to just stay? Think about what happens when you leave a plastic water bottle in your car.
That's right.
Do you want to drink it after that?
Yeah.
And everyone's complaining about microplastics and all these things. And we have so many microplastics in the body. Why would we not question implants?
Yeah. That would be like my rudimentary understanding would be the logical one that I would go to first is like probably microplastics. Silicone is a type of plastic, right? It's in, and I wonder if you have any thoughts about this, like the breast tissue being an interesting, like it's not just like any other tissue, like it's highly sensitive, right? Like I have a wife who's had 2 children and breastfeeding. You start thinking about boobs in a different way as a man. You're like, wait a minute, this is crazy. These are miraculous. And then, okay, the foreign entity in the body around that you think about things like breast cancer and all of this. I know I'm kind of just throwing stuff at the wall here, but microplastics, I'm guessing, are a concern too, and heavy metals. And then just like the hormone thing is really interesting to me. You said that you lost your cycle and had hormonal issues.
Yeah. I mean, you just have these, they're sitting on top of your lungs and your heart for 9 years. Of course, that's going to cause some issues and gut imbalances, hormonal imbalances, lost cycle. But this is the thing, and this is why it goes so undetected, and women don't even question it because so many other things can cause gut issues, hormonal imbalances, missed cycle. Because I was a bikini competitor. It's super normal to not have a cycle. You're very lean. Okay. Wasn't questioning that at all. Like I had also recently come off of birth control around the time that I got them put in. Like I put my body through a lot in my 20s. And then it started to pay the price, but not for 7 years.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it was like all of the check engine lights came on at once.
Yeah. How long after the engine light came on did you finally have to reconcile that, I think it's this? Because I'm guessing you probably did a process of elimination, right? Usually it's like, I need to be cleaner, or maybe it's this, that,
I had tried everything. Yeah. I'm going to switch my beauty products. I'm going to do, like I overhauled everything that I could. I'm like, okay, I'm going to look at my nervous system. I'm going to focus on my gut. I'm going to look into PCOS. I tried to look at everything in isolation. I just wasn't getting better. I had done detoxes. I felt worse after detoxes. It's because my drainage pathways were suboptimal. Yeah. Because my body just couldn't detox because my immune system was probably so worn down from having implants for so long.
Do you think there's kind of like our bodies are always kind of eliminating things and detoxing, but at a certain point there's just like the system is overwhelmed essentially?
Yeah, the system is overwhelmed. I mean, look at how many environmental toxins there are. There's more every year. Like they're creating more environmental toxins. There's just a surplus, and our bodies, depending on how well they can process it, yes, like our livers do detox naturally, but to what end? You put that much pressure on it to detox, eventually it's going to start to back up and slow down.
So what surprised me when we were talking off air and what I started with that post you had about $6,000 to get breast implants in, $14,000 to get them out. That's kind of crazy to think about. It's more expensive to get them out. Yeah. So now you kind of have this reckoning moment where you're like, okay, I think it's this and I'm going to get them out now. Talk to me about from that moment through the procedure and what that was like, how difficult it was, etc.
Sure. Yeah, I think it was kind of slowly and then all at once. I started noticing more podcasts, more YouTube videos, more stories of other women, and I started listening to them. And I was like, oh, shit, they sound a lot like me. That sounds exactly like me. And then, like when you see something and then you just can't unsee it. Yeah. And then I'm just the type of person that takes action on something. Like at that point, I didn't want to continue mulling it over. So I had listened to a podcast. She actually lives in Austin also. The surgeon was in Austin. I was like, this feels like a sign. I'm going to call him. So I reached out, and then it happened very quickly after that. Like I had reached out, I went and had a consult. I knew in my gut, I was like, I think I have to do this. I don't think that I can continue like just turning a blind eye. And maybe this isn't it, but at the very least, removing them will give me a better chance at healing. That's how I had to look at it. I wasn't even focused on the appearance piece yet. Like I was just like, health, number one. My health will always come first. And once I made that decision, it was a lot easier to move forward with it.
Yeah. It reminds me of that old idea that a healthy person has a million wishes and a person without the health has only one, and it's for the health. So yeah, you're like, I'll address the image issues when we get there, but like, man, just give me my health. Because I can't imagine what it must feel like to be someone that's led a healthy lifestyle and all of a sudden just be like, he was experiencing crippling anxiety,
I felt like
low
a
energy.
shell of myself. I was so bloated all the time. Like my confidence was wrecked, and it's like, isn't that what you think that you're getting breast implants for?
True.
And if I didn't feel confident because I was like, honestly, like crippling anxiety, terrified to leave my house, like, who cares if I have good boobs?
Yeah.
Like, who cares at that point? I'm like, take them away, please. I just want to feel normal again.
Right. That's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get the procedure done.
Yeah.
How quickly do you feel some kind of change or relief in your system?
Yeah. So I had the surgery on a Thursday, and then by Monday, because anesthesia and all that has to wear off, by Monday, I felt like the veil had been lifted. Wow. Like I had been living under a dark cloud for so long of just feeling not like myself, and the world started to feel a little bit brighter that following Monday. And there's still things that I'm working on, and I'm almost like 2 years out. I don't think it's an overnight thing. For some women it is. For some women that happens automatically, like whether the implants are ruptured or not, like it doesn't necessarily matter, but some women do experience like crazy results right away. They'll drop like 10 pounds of inflammation weight, like wild. I've seen some wild transformations. Also, like, the whites of the eyes tend to get a lot brighter right after surgery. And with me, I could see a lot of the inflammation had left my face right away.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the physical side of it, like the energy coming back, the feel and the brightness. Obviously, then you start to get this new zest for life and all of that stuff. It seems like it's a pretty big operation.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it's a big operation because they have to take out the entire implant intact with so when you get implants, there's a layer of scar tissue that forms around it.
Okay.
It's called a capsule. That happens as your body's way of protecting yourself from this foreign thing that you just put in your body. If there is any type of like bacterial infection or something, you want to get the whole capsule out. So the surgeon has to be very skilled. Think of it as like removing like an Easter egg without breaking it. You want it to just be like fully attached. So because of that, it can be a pretty gnarly surgery. And for me, one of my capsules had contracted a little bit, so it was starting to tighten in on the implant. That can cause a lot of pain, discomfort, also just like visually appearance. It doesn't tend to look good. So all of that being said, like the surgery is a lot to recover from, and then the emotional part starts to like set in. The physical part of like, oh, what have I done to myself? Like, who am I now? Like, because I didn't feel totally better yet. And obviously healing isn't going to happen. This is chronic inflammation that's been building up for like almost a decade. And I'm thinking that, oh, it's going to be instant. Because I see these stories of women where it's instant. And then I'm like, well, now I just feel like I've, mutilated my body for what? I remember like the first time I took a shower, it was just like, I just cried. Like it was just so hard. And my mom was there and I was just like, this is so hard. Like, and I wanted to speak up about it, but like I was still going through it. I mean, I had surgery almost 2 years ago, and I'm just now starting to really want to advocate because like I had to go through my own process. And there's some women that don't have that experience at all. And they're like, I don't even miss them at all. Like, I don't care. This is fine. I'm fine. But for me, it was definitely an emotional journey. Yeah.
Was that, what was that? Obviously, because there's a physical lightness, but was it your own like perception to your body and how it's changed so much and things like that?
Yeah. And I think we're just so societally conditioned, like that this is what beauty is. So like for me, I really identified with like beauty is like having this curvy body with big boobs and athletic and all of this. And then I took them out and I was just like, well, am I beautiful still? I really had to work through that. It was tough. Now, like I have so much compassion for that version of me because I'm like, oh, like, of course, like it was never about that. And I think that the fact that I advocated for myself and for my health has given me the confidence that I was looking for all along.
Right.
Like that's what it was all about. That's all I was seeking. And I like, I'm like, wow, I'm really proud of myself. I had my own back to be like, hey, something's not right. Friends and family were like, it's probably not your implants. I was like, I'm going to do it. And they're like, are you sure? Like didn't have full support right away from everybody in my life. And like, then they got on board and everyone was like, okay, like I see it. I believe you. Like I get it. And then after they're like, okay, like why didn't we question this either?
Yeah, right.
Like my mom she was shocked. She was just like, wow, I'm surprised I never questioned it or put those two things together. It just seems so obvious after the fact. Yeah.
And like you said, not having support from people close to you sometimes because they just don't get it is difficult enough, but then you start speaking out about it.
Yeah.
And you also get, especially if you have a post that goes viral, you get both sides of the coin, right? You
so
probably see a lot of
interesting.
stories of like,
Yes.
oh my God, this is making me think about mine, or I have the same story.
Yes.
But you also get the trolls, the angry people, the people that call
trolls.
your message dangerous. And talk to me about the shadow side of that, like speaking out online about this.
I think it is exactly that. I think when you have a post go viral, it just kind of shows you the algorithm of humanity, right? You have both sides. You have people that will see you and support you, and then you have people that feel triggered by you, maybe because you're speaking some truth that they don't want to look at. But yeah, I mean, I've had trolls call me a fear monger just from sharing my story. I at no point do I want to like scare women or tell them like this will happen to every woman. My best friend has implants. She's had them replaced after 10 years, which is what you're supposed to do. She's never had any symptoms. She loves them. She feels great. I'm not going after her being like, you need to remove them because I'm not that type of person. Like, also, I got them because I wanted them. I'm not going to be the type of person to jump on the bandwagon now that I don't have them and be like, they're the worst thing in the world. Like, that would just seem so inauthentic to me. So yeah, I mean, I support people's choice, whatever they want to do. My personal experience is what I want to focus on and what I want to share, because I want to speak out for other women that are dealing with that and let them know that like, you're not crazy. Yeah. This is real. Like, you could be dealing with this, and there's only, unfortunately, one way to find out.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just wild. Like the trolls, they say I'm a fear monger, that I'm a danger to society, was like one of the ones I got the other day.
That's pretty wild.
She told me I need to focus on sobriety, which like I don't even know where that came. It was wild. Like I've had some people come at me with some pretty crazy things.
Some things, for whatever reason, to certain people just become the like sacred cow. You know, you can't touch it. And I think the way you just described it, it sounds extremely reasonable to me. It sounds like what you're trying to do. There's this word of like informed consent, right?
Exactly.
You have to understand the totality of what you're entering into to then decide, okay, these risks are here. These potential pros are here. How do I feel? What do I want? And then make a decision.
Yeah.
You didn't really have that because the information wasn't out as much. And I can think of many other things that we do in our culture where we don't fully have informed consent. And then some people end up getting injured by those things.
Sure.
The worst thing that can happen then is for society to turn around and say you're dangerous, or it's all in your head, or you're crazy. Like, that gaslighting is really, really harmful to people. Like, I know people personally in my life that have been injured by a medical procedure that know that that was the thing that hurt them, only to go around and say to the doctor, this hurt me, and to be told that they're crazy. It's all in their head. That
medical gaslighting is very,
real.
very real. Yeah.
It's so sad, you know? So I think it's very important to have voices like yours, because what we're trying to do is represent the totality of it without telling people, hey, everybody needs to do this. But everybody does need to be informed about the potential risks.
Absolutely. And it's not a black and white thing. A lot of things in life are not black and white. Right. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people will be like, well, you know, you can't be diagnosed with it. Okay. Well, you don't necessarily have to be diagnosed with a food intolerance for something to not settle well with you. Yeah. There's a lot of things that are like that, but they're like, well, the FDA doesn't recognize this as an official disease. And I'm like, do we blindly trust the FDA with everything? Do we think that they have our backs? And do you know who's funding the FDA? These plastic surgeon companies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's often so many perverse incentives, right? And it's sad, but it's true that if you look at the incentives or you follow the money, you start to go like, oh. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Follow the money.
Yeah.
I think that the FDA is probably bought and paid for under a lot of circumstances. I don't know. I'm probably going to get canceled for that. But
no, you're in pretty good company here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned like this kind of like also helping people to realize that they're not necessarily crazy. And I think that is very the helpful, hopeful side of social media is like, hey, if you're experiencing this and you've tried everything and nothing's working, it could be this, because it's a glimmer of hope. So that I say that to ask you, what might women experience if they are suffering from breast implant illness but might not actually be aware of it? Like, what are some of the more common things?
I think the most common symptoms, and this is going to sound so generalized because this could be anything. It's going to be really chronic fatigue. Brain fog is terrible. My memory was going. It was to the point where it was really embarrassing. Like, there would be meetings that I would have with work, and then I couldn't remember details, tasks, things that I needed to do. So that was scary. Anxiety, crippling anxiety. I would wake up some mornings just crying, just scared, not knowing why. Depression. I had never experienced depression in my life. Gut issues, had never had gut issues in my life. Weight gain. I gained like 20 pounds in probably like 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
Living the same lifestyle I always had. And I think that maybe like having COVID might have tipped me over. That's a possibility because that's kind of when things started to get really bad. I don't know. I mean, it's all speculation, but like all I know for sure is that I started to feel better after I removed them. So it's like, that's the thing that's so tough is they want to know for sure. Like they want to know for sure that it's the implants that are causing the symptoms. And it's like, you got to just take a leap of faith on your health and just know that like you will be better off without them if you are experiencing symptoms. Like it will give your body a better chance to heal because it's already in such an immune response just having them, period.
Yes. And if we're being honest and somebody's even playing with the idea of getting them out, that they're probably acknowledging that there is a certain degree or a certain possibility that they could potentially be the thing that's impacting the health.
Yes.
So therefore the decision not to get them out is usually probably more of their own like body confidence, the spiritual, the emotional stuff.
I think
that's
generally the last thing that would keep, because otherwise if it could make you feel better, why wouldn't you?
You want that, right?
You know? Yeah. But like, it's because it's attached to our identity.
Yeah.
If I told you eating mustard was causing issues in your life, you would just be like, okay, cool.
Right.
See you later. I'm never going to have mustard again. It wouldn't be that difficult of a decision.
Yeah.
But when it's something that challenges what you believe is giving you confidence and what you believe is making you beautiful, not only in your eyes, but like in the eyes of men or whatever it might be, then it gets a bit more challenging.
I love this topic. I'd love to go into it a little bit more with you because I think sometimes scratching the surface of this topic could just appear that it's just a very physical conversation, like breast implants or not, breast implants in or removed, wanting nice boobs versus normal boobs, whatever that is. But it seems like underneath there is a lot more to it. There's like a whole sense of self thing, maybe even it's spiritual for you. And I think a lot of it is rooted in some of those things you just said, like what have I attached my identity to? Beauty standards. So do with that what you will, because I think we're living in a very interesting time for just crazy beauty standards.
Yeah, I also love that you brought up the spiritual aspect of it, because this is something that I haven't seen talked about anywhere. And for me, I mean, I've always been somebody from a young age to like want to know the deeper meaning of things and make meaning out of things. It's just kind of how I've always seen life. But yeah, for me, removing them started to be the catalyst of some sort of spiritual journey for me, because I took them out, and then I also used to have really long hair extensions, and then I was like, wait, I don't need these either. I took those out, and then I went to Bali and did yoga teacher training, like very like eat, pray, love vibes, and went and did that. And then I realized that like what I was doing for work was no longer aligned, and it just became a stripping, and I feel like everything in my life was just being pulled and taken away. And then I finally have landed at this point now where I finally feel like I'm like back at me. But the catalyst to all of that was questioning the implants and then choosing my health and choosing to reclaim that. And then I started to look at every other thing in my life that wasn't working. And yeah, it's just a shedding of identity. And I think I've landed back at like coming home to myself in a way, which feels really good. And then from that point, I'm like, okay, now I would love to help empower other women to not just, it's deeper. It's deeper than just the implants, you know. It's like, are you awake? Are you looking at your life? Are you looking at the things that are truly aligned to you? Or did you just buy into some narrative that you don't even subscribe to? Yeah. If you really question it.
Maybe that is part of the resistance to this conversation too, because people know they can't do that without opening the whole of Pandora's box.
It is. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because this
is
exactly
that.
Like you said, the things that we do, and men do it too. I think we're just less under the constant pressure of to live up to unrealistic beauty standards. But you see, like male body dysmorphia is on the rise and all this stuff. So we're all getting like globally psyoped by unrealistic beauty standards. But really, what they're an attempt to do is to kind of hide the trueness of who we are and think that like if we just have, it's the I'll be happy when syndrome kind of thing. Like, well, I'll be happy when I have the nice boobs. Or the guy might say, well, I'll be happy when I'm 10% body fat and Shreddy Krueger, only to get there and realize, oh, well, that didn't quite do it. So maybe it's hair extensions, or maybe it's ab implants, or maybe it's a BBL. And then all of a sudden to get there and realize, oh, well, I have all the things. Now, not only do I not feel complete, but I'm also sick. And now I've got to get those out, and not getting them out is going to cause me to question why I even did it in the first place. And that's going to cause me to question, like, what kind of life I'm living and who am I doing this for? And do I want to live this life? And all of a sudden you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah. And it can be quite uncomfortable at times. Oh, yeah. And I think that a lot of people just don't want to look, maybe. And then that's where a lot of the triggered comments come from. Yeah. Yeah.
You said when you were younger, you made the decision without thinking about it too much to get the breast implants. Maybe you were thinking about it, but it was just an unconscious thing. Like you were absorbing these values from environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was 9-10 years ago or something like that. So the landscape has changed also with the age of information, and probably even more insane pressure and just algorithmic hijacking. And
because this was before social media was really Instagram was still just like filters and pictures of food at that point in time. You know, there wasn't really a lot going on, and it definitely wasn't what it is now. It wasn't the information awareness.
What do you think, like, the cost of that is for young minds, in particular impressionable minds, to just be growing up in this culture where they're just picking up so much of this? Like the people that become the biggest on social media are usually the ones that perpetuate that narrative, right? The hot bods, the big lips, the Botox, the fake boobs, all of it. Like, do you think about just how this is going to influence people growing up with the beauty standards?
I do. I think we're starting to see a shift, because equally there's people that are speaking up like I am, so people can see a different side of it, where it's not all what it used to be, where it's just like, this is the beauty standard and there's nothing questioning it at all. But I mean, at the same time, I don't know. I saw an influencer post, or a singer actually. She posted the other day, this was a brand deal for implants.
Oh, wow.
It was an ad. Like, the post was like, I just got my boobs done and I used this brand, and I was jaw on the floor. I'm like, this is wild. This is a brand deal. She's getting paid to do this. Like, and who's her audience? Her music speaks to younger girls. That's concerning.
Yeah, it is.
It's concerning.
It's super interesting to me because one of the things that I see, and I called this out recently in a semi-viral post that got a lot of heat too, is there is this quest in our culture for something like self-love and self-acceptance. And the meme I posted was maybe purposefully a little inflammatory. It was somebody that had just an egregious amount of self-work done. And I said something like, this is the final boss of self-love. And it's just like, where is the line here between wanting to modify your appearance and look good so you can feel confident and all of that stuff, but then it becoming like the shadow side of self-love? Because are you really loving yourself if you need to augment every facet of your being and filter every picture and think, oh, my lips are too thin? And like, do you think about that?
I do think about that. I think about that a lot, actually, because it's not to say that you have to just take yourself at face value. Like, I do believe, like, adorn your body, do things that make you feel good, you know, like enhance your appearance if it makes you happier, but where is the line? Where is the line where you have to kind of challenge it and ask yourself? And I think that just for me, just going down the spiritual path has just helped me become more aware, to challenge myself, to do the shadow work, to look at these things and just really be able to get more honest with myself. Spending more time in silence with myself, which is actually like part of my recovery. Like, I got more into meditation and breath work and all of these practices where I really had to sit with myself. No more running, just sitting with myself and understanding kind of the why behind why, like what made me feel like I wasn't good enough in the first place. And I mean, I don't think that maybe you can go get, you know, implants or something and you do feel good about yourself. I'm not saying that everyone has like crippling insecurity that does it, but that's what I want people to make a decision from that place of like, what are your reasons here? You know? And then maybe people would challenge that and be like, actually, that's a pretty big risk for, you know, just the reward of having a bigger chest.
Yeah. So that sounds like something like, maybe you have a friend that is aware of like what you've done and what you talk about, but they are still seriously considering this procedure because they want it. So your advice would be something like, just really try to get to the crux of what is driving this and why, so you can really make your own version of informed consent.
Yeah, absolutely. That, and understand your body better. Understand how your body might respond to having a foreign object in it. Check your detox pathways, you know, there's a ton of labs that you can run, see how your digestion is, Yeah, just make sure that your body is in a state where you maybe would be okay. Like if you have autoimmune conditions already, wouldn't recommend, you know? Yeah, if you have a compromised immune system in any way, wouldn't recommend. Gut issues, probably not.
What would, you said it's a continuing evolution for you, like 2 years of healing and finding a lot of practices that have helped you on that, and a lot sounds like deep introspection and silence. How long did it take you to come to terms with the change and like really start to find that confidence spark again?
I think the first year was really difficult, and then after that things kind of started to seem, I started to feel more like me, and I just kept peeling back layers, and I'm still peeling back layers, but I've just decided now that staying silent is not helping anybody. So it's just, I would rather speak up, and if one person identifies with it, I have had women message me and be like, I was actually going to get a consult to get my boobs done and I canceled it. Like, thank you for spreading awareness. Like, that's amazing. Huge. That's amazing. Or they reach out to me after they've explanted and they're like, thank you so much for like being a guiding light throughout this journey. I felt less alone. Yeah. Because I didn't have anybody to talk to that had gone through this at that point in time.
So when you started to share this, just because you felt like it needed to be heard, was there any kind of a game plan for what it would turn into? I know you said right now you're just kind of in the midst of this giant surrender experiment of like, fuck around and find out, for want of a better term.
Basically, yeah.
Like what is the hope, the continuing hope and the vision for just sharing this message, that's bigger than hopefully helping people, which is incredibly amazing.
Yeah.
But like, what are you doing now to continue to like leverage this message and talk about this, and what are you trying to hope that you help people uncover?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to just help people get back to their authenticity. I know that word is just thrown around so loosely now, but that's what it is. It's like a coming back home to yourself at the end of the day. Like, that's the deeper piece of it. Like, yes, advocating for your health and advocating for informed consent so people can be fully aware of their choices and the actions behind it, because I wasn't. And I also get, a lot of heat for that, because they're like, well, like, you're dumb and didn't do your research, so you deserve this. I'm like, okay. Like, I was young, like I was young. Like, I actually don't even like entirely disagree with that. Yeah. Like I didn't, but like, if I can help somebody else from not going through that and not having to deal with what I went through, then like, that's worth it for me. I don't have a grand master plan of what this will turn into, but I would like to continue with advocating for women's health and, just spreading more awareness around it, because I do believe that this shift is just so premature. Yeah. Like, I think that we're going to start to see so much more of a shift. And I compare it a lot to alcohol, because I started challenging alcohol when my health started to tank, because I was like, my hangovers were just getting atrocious. Like, it was really, really bad. After like one glass of wine, I would wake up and just be like down and out for the day. And I was like, I have to stop drinking. Like, this is just not worth it. It's too expensive to my life at this point. So I started challenging alcohol, and at that point in time, telling somebody I'm not drinking, they're like, well, like, you don't have a problem. Like, why aren't you drinking? You're not an alcoholic. And I'm like, is that really the only time you can not drink is if you're an alcoholic? And now, and especially I think living in Austin too, we're so health conscious here, and it's very normalized to go to an event where there's no booze at all. Yep. I don't think that was the case 5 years ago. No. I think that started to shift too. And I saw something the other day that like Gen Z spends around $3 billion a year on alcohol, and millennials and Gen X is like $32 billion a year. Wow. Like, Gen Z is just, they're like, well, we just don't want to buy into this. We'd rather be healthy. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Things are shifting. Yeah, things are shifting, but things were not shifting a few years ago. And I think that with implants and plastic surgery, even Botox, I think we're going to start to see a shift with everyone. I think everyone's just kind of waking up to a lot of things, and the world is just changing so fast right now on all fronts, like with AI, with everything. Like, so I think it's just going to continue to evolve. Yeah. It's going to be wild. I agree with you. I think things are changing. And I saw those numbers around like just how much less younger people are drinking these days, and just not doing the things that were so normalized. I'm 35 now. So if you weren't
out on a 3-day bender when you were in your mid-20s was like, what are you doing? What's this little hermit doing? It was
Right?
just so normal.
Yeah.
And now I think back and I'm like, yeah, that wasn't normal at all either.
Yeah. Isn't it wild? Like, congratulations on turning 21. Let's get you absolutely like annihilated.
Yeah. And like,
so you don't remember it. Like
the goal
is
basically
to be trashed.
blackout. Like,
Exactly.
and it's another very strange, like, shadowy thing in our culture. Much like the unrealistic beauty standards, and just because you can never get enough of something that almost works, you know, like we're chasing something, whether it's looks or like we've been sold a false bill of goods in so many ways, and I think we're just like clamoring for feeling something. I don't know,
all these things that just work until they don't, though.
Until they don't.
And
then usually when they don't, it's not just like that they're not working anymore, it's that like, oh shit, now I'm buggered.
They're actually causing problems.
Right.
Alcohol is the same way.
Yeah.
For people that do experience issues with alcohol. And
Big time.
I mean, I think that people like to analyze this with alcohol. It's like, oh, did you have a problem? And I'm like, well, the problem is that I felt awful. Like that, I guess if that means I have a problem, then sure. But like, it's not the standard like alcoholic definition. Again, you can't necessarily define these things.
Yeah.
It's nuanced. It's not black and white.
That's right. Yeah. And it's up to the individual to really think about what they want. Like no judgments against people that drink.
No.
And I don't not drink. I just don't drink because I don't enjoy it. But I'm not sitting here saying like,
I'm not saying I'm sober
right.
and like I'll have a drink every once in a while.
Same.
But it's not like it used to be in my life. That's for sure.
Yeah. And that's just because I'm a little bit more at peace with what I value mostly.
Exactly.
And if I value like waking up early and getting a workout before my kids are up, and I value like health and vibrancy and clarity.
Yes.
And then alcohol rubs directly against that, then it's no longer in alignment with what I want. So I can confidently say, no, I'm okay. I don't need the beer right now.
Exactly.
Even if it means standing in the face of like the banter from the boys. That's like, oh, come on, you pussy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, no, I'm good, dude.
Right.
Yeah. So like, but again, that's a bit of a confidence thing that you said. Like the real thing, what's interesting is like you mentioned the boob jobs is kind of like, it's a quest to feel confident. So you sacrifice the thing you want, which is confidence, for the thing that's supposed to get it, only to realize that it never fixed it, because that's like an inside out job. Nothing can make you feel confident, right? And you can augment it a little bit and maybe get a 5% bump and be like, oh, this looks really good, or I feel, but ultimately it's an inside out job.
Yeah. I think that was like a $20,000 lesson for me to learn.
Sometimes they're expensive and painful.
Very expensive and painful. Yeah. But I don't know. Like that is how I learned that lesson.
Right.
Like I had to go through the full circle of it. There's probably cheaper, easier, healthier ways that I could have learned that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I've had this belief in my life for a long time that I just started rewiring. That was like, things have to be difficult in order to be meaningful. Man, that belief will really wear you down. There's no prize for things being difficult.
Right.
Like life can actually be really successful and full of ease and joy and all these things. But I like look back on my life and like my 20s, everything was difficult. Like I did bikini competitions. Do you know how hard it is to get in that kind of shape to prep? And I was like, oh my God, the suffering
it's
makes
a sufferfest.
the suffering makes it better in some capacity. And I'm just like, yep, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
I caught the belief, and now I can begin to rewire that for something
that's right,
more supportive to my health, my nervous system, all the things. Yeah.
But you have to catch the belief, right?
Exactly.
Because until you catch that, you're going to act those things out unconsciously. And then when you start to really, it's a process of unlearning more than anything else. Like, where did that story come from? Where did I inherit that from? Why do I believe this? And all of a sudden, is that useful anymore? Actually, no, that's really not useful. So I want to figure out how I unlearn it. And it's going to have hooks in you. So it's going to take a little bit of time, and you're going to see where you slip back into it. But you can't escape a prison you don't know you're in.
Exactly.
So like when you finally catch that belief and you realize that that's the thing that's really perpetuating your own suffering, is the chance to do a little bit of alchemy and at least see the thing that's tripping you up. And when you can see it, you've got a much better chance of not having it trip you up from behind,
Exactly. And that's a fact that I love so much, is that there's neuroplasticity. You can rewire all these beliefs, but you have to be aware of it.
Yeah.
Like the Carl Jung quote that I love, like, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you'll call it fate.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's so real.
Yeah, and there's a lot in that unconscious. It's like the tip of the iceberg thing you always see. You see like 10% of the iceberg, but 90% of it is under the water. It's under consciousness. It's in there. You have to find it through things like you said, breath work, journaling, meditation,
microdosing,
sometimes sitting in a hospital bed, probably recovering from a surgery, saying like, what the hell did I do? And just having nothing but time to think.
Yeah.
And I think maybe in our culture that is becoming increasingly important, just because when people have opportunities to think, they usually just pick up the phone and have a scroll, and that perpetuates what got them there in the first place.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm so guilty of that too. Like
we all are.
I've recently, do you know the app Opal?
Yes, I've heard of it, yeah.
Oh man, I've been using that, and it'll tell you how many times it blocks you from like just defaulting to clicking on Instagram or TikTok or whatever.
It's scary.
It's scary.
Yeah,
it's really scary.
It is very scary. Speaking of being scary, I think one of the things that these procedures and these beauty standards even exist for is our fear of aging, which is ultimately rooted in a fear of death and a fear in our loss of like vibrancy and vitality and fertility and attractiveness and all of the milieu of things that come with that. So I'm curious like how you think about it now, just like to age more gracefully, not fight it so much, not resist the only thing that is a guarantee in life, which is that we're going to get older. Or maybe do you speak to people about alternatives that they can think about or work on instead of just going to something like a surgery?
Ooh, I feel like that's loaded. There's a lot in that. I think to deal with aging, it's just, are you living a purpose-fueled life? Are you happy? Do you have good connections? Do you have love in your life? Like, I think the more that the answer is yes to those questions, the less that you're going to be worried about how you look, because we're doing all those things to be loved, right? At the end of the day. So it's like, but those things don't get us more love necessarily. So I think just focusing on the relationships that we have and being of value to the world and society and each other, like I think that's probably the ultimate anti-aging antidote.
I love that.
Right? There's definitely other like more holistic ways that you can age gracefully, I'm sure, like all these different biohacking modalities that are more natural, and like, yeah, I'm all for that too. But I think like social connection and just, as cliche again as this is, like finding your purpose or finding a purpose. It doesn't have to be like to cure the world of anything. It can just be like being a good friend, you know? Doing something that is valuable, that's helping others or at least not hurting them. Yeah.
What made me think of it is because I agree. I think that is the formula for a healthy life. I think like when we talk about blue zones and people that live a long time, like it's mostly that. It's like a sense of connection to the communities, meaning, great relationships, lower stress lifestyle. I think it's all of that stuff. And my wife was on a bit of a rant the other day about this influencer in the mom space. And so like once you become a mom, I imagine, and my wife would say this, that like a huge part of your purpose is your children, and you should be able to find so much in that. But this particular mom influencer had gotten a mommy makeover. And what that is, in case you don't know what that is it's a redistribution of fat from other areas on the body after childbirthing, and you know, the extra skin and the extra fat re-shot into the boobs, and like an augmentation or a lift. And
an augmentation or just a fat transfer?
I'm not sure. It might have just been a fat transfer, but it begs the question. Well, firstly, the reason she was a little fired up about it is this influencer put on basically like a GoFundMe and was very vague about the details, but made it seem like she got sick and she was in the hospital and she needed funding to help her like kind of get out of this hole, and then disappeared for a couple of weeks and came back and talked about her mommy makeover, which was fueled by her audience. And this was one of these self-love, you know, reject the patriarchy kind of characters. And it was just such mental gymnastics to see this occur, and must have purpose in her children and her business, but still felt the need to not only con her audience, but also still feel this pressure, I guess, to live up to whatever beauty standards, you know? So that's why I was just curious about this, because it's just, when my wife told me that, I didn't even know what to say. I was just like, well, that is extremely interesting.
Yeah, I think the worst part there is the conning of the audience.
Right.
Like, own it. If you're going to do it, own it, you know? Like, because it's not good to deceive people that are supporting you.
No, it's
what does
never
that
good.
say? Yeah, that's not great at all. And I get it. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm not a mom, but who knows? Like, would I want some type of procedure done at that point in time? I don't know. Maybe, like, no judgment to that, but like at least just tell your audience where you're at.
Yes.
Because if you're that public, and you've profited off of this audience for sharing your life, then I think that you kind of owe it to them to be authentic fully and let them know kind of what you're going through. And I think that they'd appreciate that more.
I agree.
Because that makes you real, and that you're saying that, yes, I'm about self-love, but I also really struggle to love myself too. What's more,
I agree.
I think that connects people so much more.
It's very humanizing to hear somebody just be honest and acknowledge. I think the male perspective of this is it's very common for male influencers to lie about their natty status. And what that means is basically they take steroids and everybody knows it, and then they lie about it.
Right.
And in the worst cases, like examples like the Liver King, they end up getting called out, and it's a disaster because he conned everybody and said basically this is how you get jacked.
Yes.
And people were really wounded by that because that's not an integrous thing to do. Whereas guys that just actually come out and say, yeah, you know what, I am taking TRT because I have body confidence issues and I was low on a blood test, and yes, I look great now. It's not all drugs. It's also a lot of hard work. People respect that way more than the person that we all are kind of like, we think you're lying, just tell us, you know?
And I think that's tougher for men though too, right? Like the authenticity piece, because if a guy comes forward like that, like you said earlier, like his buddies are going to come after him and be like, dude, you're soft. You know, like you can't be saying that.
Men
with
definitely
women,
have
women
a hard
can
time.
be a little bit more soft with these things.
Yeah.
But you see it with women too. Like look at what's happening with Ozempic and stuff. How many of these influencers are saying that they got in shape, they're actually taking Ozempic, and then they're selling programs to people. What a time to be alive. Like you just have to be so discerning of what's out there, because you can scroll for 5 minutes and get completely contradicting advice, and you just got to be really discerning.
Yeah.
Do your own
I think
research.
you're over the target with it being maybe a little bit easier for women, because men just like culturally have a little bit more of this play your cards close to your chest, and there is not much in the way of like holistic integrated masculinity or communications, and it's getting better. But at the same time, like you'll see the claws come out for, you know, on women's, like I remember when Adele lost a bunch of weight and she came out and she was like all hot and stuff, and women just attacked her for losing weight, and like she obviously put in a lot of hard work. I think this was probably way before the Ozempic craze. So she just like hard work, probably diet, worked her butt off, and came out and like had her like come out of the closet moment. Look, I'm got a new body. I'm feeling all good. And she was just attacked. And that was all women, you know, it was all women attacking women. And
that's wild.
It's very like, it can get very catty too, right?
Yeah, it's awful. And then now that there is Ozempic, if a woman did go through an extreme transformation without it, she would be accused of taking it and cheating.
Bingo. Oh, that's
like, it's impossible to win.
That's impossible now.
Like,
the Ozempic thing is like what guys who are in great shape have been experiencing for years, is people basically saying like, well, he's on steroids. And there's no way of proving it. But what it's an attempt to do is make myself feel better because I'm not in that shape, and just say, well, he only got there because he took the easy way, which is steroids.
Exactly.
And now this reverse signal for the Ozempic thing is, well, anybody that's in shape now, the mainstream culture is just going to say, well, they just took Ozempic.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like devaluing being slim in some way. And it's a very interesting look at the body positivity, fat acceptance movement, because that was very vocal and strong a couple of years ago, but now there's an easy route out. It's faded into obscurity.
No, it's gone away quite a bit. Yeah. And I mean, to circle it back to the implant thing, I'll have women that are like basically telling me that I needed something to blame all my symptoms on. So I blamed it on my implants, and then I removed them. I'm like, you do realize that I got them because I wanted them, right? Like, why would I blame my health and then take out something that I wanted? Like, no matter what, there's always going to be people that are just haters.
Always.
Yeah.
Always, yeah. Do you know of other alternatives to breast implants? And the mommy makeover thing is like redistributing fat.
Yeah,
is there safer alternatives?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't speak fully like and endorse it with the full like stamp of approval of like how safe it is, because I just don't know yet. But I think this is a safer option, is to do a fat transfer. So it's going to be lipo from, you know, like your hips, your flanks, legs, whatever. And then they'll redistribute that fat into your implants, and you can achieve a bit more volume. It's usually just about like 1 cup size that you can do that. The thing is that like, you don't know, it's fat, you're moving fat cells, so it's like that might not hold. The retention might not be there, and it's expensive, and the recovery is a lot, because you're not only recovering here, you're recovering all over your body, wherever they took the fat from, and you have to recover all over. So that is another option. I opted out of that. I wanted to just focus on healing and then give myself the chance to decide later if I wanted to do that. And I don't see that in my future right now. I mean, never say never, but like, I don't feel like I need it. I've like learned to love the body that I have now.
Yeah.
So
still feels like the same advice would stand, which is just like, sit down and really think about it. And you might end up coming to the conclusion that, isn't that a bit excessive? And isn't that a bit silly? And maybe I can just accept this body that I'm in and work on that inside out job again of the confidence and things like that.
Yeah.
What's your current practices for continuing to, you mentioned women's health in general, like stay healthy, stay balanced as a woman, continue to work on your own strength, your own health, and your own confidence?
Yeah. I mean, lately my practice for being healthy is being in community, because I've worked remote since 2017 and there's been times where I've had community in work, and I live alone right now, but I had a roommate and friend that I worked with in the past, and we always worked together, and that was very supportive. But I've realized in the last handful of years that I've been working alone and how isolating that can feel. And I want to create a space for women to be able to feel seen in community, but also still be productive and get work done, and also focus on our practices like meditation. So I've created retreats more so recently that I'm focusing on that bring all of those things together. You bring in the wellness, you bring in the focus and community. And that's what would make me the most happy. And
awesome.
Just being able to have those as often as possible. Yeah, it's been very fulfilling.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming out today and, taking me to school a little bit, having a fun conversation.
Happy to. Thank you for having me.
It's really cool. And I think it's really important. I think you're right. When we connected early on, you said, I think we're at the kind of the beginning of a big wave of awareness here and a big wave of explant surgeries. And I agree. I think we're collectively going through some kind of waking up and questioning a lot of things. And that's going to leave a lot of women questioning what they are going to do or might not do or have done with their bodies, and thinking about alternative paths. And it doesn't happen without conversations like this. So thank you.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you again.
Where can people go to check out what you're up to and potentially get on one of these retreats or follow online to see the journey?
Yeah. Easiest way to connect with me would probably just be Instagram, and it's at Alexandria Roemer.
Okay, perfect. We'll drop it in the show notes. Thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you so much.
You lot stay radical, stay free, and we'll see you next week. Peace. All right, friends, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Radical Health Radio. We got a fresh new podcast for you every Wednesday. If you enjoyed the show, consider liking, subscribing, reviewing, and rating us on your podcast platform. It helps us spread this message of radical health. We'll see you next week.